So in this video, we're going to look at lesson 2.11, logistic growth functions. So what is a logistic growth? Well, it's like an exponential growth, but it starts out growing like an exponential growth curve, but then it levels off. Okay, it just levels off. Now you do have it, it's in the form of this right here. Your function is in that form right there. All right, so here are some words, some growth, logistic growth terms. So we have the carrying capacity, that is your top asymptote, that is the top asymptote where y equals c. And then you have the decreasing growth rate. You have the point of maximum growth, that's the point at where the growth is the maximum or the slope is the maximum, it's increasing the most. And then you have the increasing growth rate at the beginning. Okay, and then your bottom asymptote is at y equals 0. All right, so here's an example. So 20 deer were introduced into the forest with 0 deer population. Okay, so this makes sense, right? You're going to have a growth capacity, a carrying capacity. Okay, so that means the graph does not cross 220. That's how many deer you can have in that particular spot, because that's all that the forest could hold at that time. Okay, so we have the point of maximum growth is right here. We have the asymptote, your top asymptote is up here, and then your bottom asymptote is going to be at y equals 0. But you do have a starting point, okay, and in 1994, 20 deer were introduced. Okay. All right, so in a logistic growth function, we have our formula. Okay, you might want to write some of this down. We have the formula where A, B, and C are positive numbers. Now, look at this. A is given, B is given, and C is your upper bound. Now, the upper bound is that top asymptote. Okay? So when you plug that in, remember your A and B will be given. Okay, A and B will be given. Then that top asymptote is what you put on the top for C. All right? So in this case, we have 19, and T is 1994, and then P of T is how many deer are present. So again, your A and your B are given, so you just plug those in. Then your top asymptote is 220, so you plug that in for C, and then that's how you get the logistic growth function for this model of P of T equals 220 divided by 1 plus 10 E raised to the negative 0.5 T. All right, so this brings us to a quiz question. This is just like number 1 on your quiz. Now, what is the value of f of 2 when you're given this function? Okay, so that means you're just going to plug 2 in for x. So you just plug 2 in for x and solve. Okay, so plug 2 in for x and solve it. Now, what I also want to show you is that you can plug this into Desmos. Okay, plug your formula. You can plug your formula into Desmos, and then it will solve it for you. Okay, so you can either plug it in, use your calculator, or you can use Desmos. Okay, let me show you what it looks like in Desmos. All right, so in Desmos, let's say you wanted to find f of negative 2. Okay, so if you want to find f of negative 2, you would plug your formula into the first insert, and then x equals negative 2 into the next one. Then find the point where they intersect, and your answer would be right here. It's that point, it's at 0.62. Okay, would be your answer for this one. So I would encourage you to get familiar with Desmos. Okay, get familiar with Desmos, and you would plug it in exactly the way you see this with the parentheses. I would encourage you to use the parentheses. Okay, let's look at a problem like number 2. All right, so the graph of the logistic growth function. Now the next problems 2, 3, 4, and 5, are using these formulas. I would pause this video and make sure you have these formulas written down. Okay, pause these videos and make sure you have them written down. I do have an example over here on the side. Okay, I have an example over here where if you're given this function, Okay, you're given this growth function, logistic growth function, with these A, B's, and C's. Using these formulas, we have the y-intercept, horizontal asymptotes, and the point of maximum growth. And all we're doing is plugging them into these formulas. Okay, you were given the formulas, all you're doing is plugging them in there. You're plugging your A, B, and C. That's it. Okay, so let's look at some examples of each one of these. So this one is just like number 2 on your quiz. So you're going to be given, you're given this formula, and the y-intercept, remember the y-intercept, you're not going to be given that. You have to have it written down. You have to write these down. You have to write those formulas down. So if you need to rewind this video and get those formulas, please do that. Okay, so your y-intercept is C divided by 1 plus A. Now remember, your C is this top number, okay, and your A is right there, and your B is over here, okay? So plug into the formula of C divided by 1 plus A, so that's 330 divided by 1 plus 10. So simplify that out, and your answer is 30, okay? Now, y-intercept is also in Desmos. You can use Desmos and figure out where it crosses the y-axis, and it's at 0.30. Okay? All right, so here's another example that's just like number 2. So you have you're trying to find the y-intercept. So you're going to have C divided by 1 plus A. That's your formula you need to have written down. And your C is 170 divided by 1 plus your A, and that's 5. So that's 170 divided by 6. So when you take 170 divided by 6, let's see what we get. So you should get 28.3. Okay, so that would be your y-intercept for this problem. All right, so this one is just like number 3 on your quiz. You are finding the asymptotes. So with these asymptotes, remember the rule? The lines 0 and y equals c are your horizontal asymptotes. So that means you're going to have y equals 0 and y equals c, and your c is 330. Do not overthink this problem. Okay, do not overthink it. This one's pretty easy. It's already given to you in the formula. Don't overthink this problem. You should not get this one wrong. It's just y equals 0 and y equals 330, which is your C. All right, now next we have a problem just like number 4 on your quiz. So again, this is plugging it into the formula, okay? Plugging it into the formula. So you're going to have ln of A divided by your B, which is 0.5, okay? And then you're going to have your 330 divided by 2, your C divided by 2. So you just type those two in the calculator. Your ln of 10 divided by 0.5 gives you the 4.61. 330 divided by 2 gives you 165. So that is your point that you would put into the OHS. Okay? Now also be careful, because look in your formula. Your formula has this negative bx. So if that number is negative, you only bring out a positive 0.5. That's why there's only a positive 0.5 in your formula. That's why there's a ln of 10 divided by positive 0.5. The ln means natural log. Okay? So be careful there. Pay attention to those numbers. Okay? So this one's just like number 4 on your quiz. And again, make sure you have these formulas written down, because you're not going to be given the formulas in the OHS. Make sure you have them written down before you take your quiz. All right, on number 5, you're going to solve for x or t. Okay? Sometimes there's an x, sometimes there's a t. If it's a time formula, if it has to do with time of some sort, then you're going to have t. If it's not time, then you're going to have x. Now, so you can either plug the number in. Okay, so you're going to let f of t equal 696. Okay, so you can plug that in there. So you're going to set your formula equal. You have to substitute your f of t for that. Okay, so then you have to solve it out, and you're going to get t is equal to 36. So that means on the 36th day of the initial outbreak, about 696 townspeople were infected. Now, you could also put this in Desmos, okay? Put your formula in Desmos. If you would put your formula in Desmos and then type in y equals 696. So in your first one, your very first entry is going to be the function. The next you're going to put y equals, because remember you're plugging that in for y. F of t is y. Plug that in for y, and then find the point of intersection, and you're going to get 36 as the x coordinate or the t coordinate. Okay? So you could also use Desmos with this, or you can plug it in and find your t. All right? If you have any questions, just let me know. We do have help sessions, or you can ask at the end of class or come back to the main room and get some help. Okay, so it's up to you. Please ask for help if you need it. Thank you.